next is individual religiosity. Now, I don't know if I have it here already, but do you think Koreans are more religious than other people or not? What is your stereotypical perception? Yeah? How would you get that?
Because of the amount of people knocking on my door, preaching their religion. Yeah, it's never happened to me in
Are
Australia.
you talking about the Jehovah's Witnesses? Or just
And just
any
people,
church?
they knock on the door and they leave their pamphlet to visit our church. Yeah.
You know, the reason why Jehovah's Witnesses are like everywhere is because it's one of their callings or duties to actually go out the street to preach. So that's why sometimes knowing that, I don't really. I mean, I'm very kind when they ever like knock on our door, and when I'm alone, I actually answer the door, and they find me to be very hospitable. So they give me like all everything they have, and they say, "Oh, we want to come back," and I don't have the hard mind to say no, so they always make return visits, and when they come back, I'm not home, and my wife goes, "What?" That has happened several times. Yeah.
I just have with regards to that, all the groups that are in, like, the people that in KU, like, walk around and...
there's students who do that here?
Loads. Have you not had that like a million times? God the Mother, I think, is. But is that, I just wanted to know if that's like affiliated with the university?
No.
Or it's like a totally separate thing? Yeah, okay.
Any religious activities on campus is private. It's not something that is endorsed by the university.
But it's not like prohibited?
See, that's the thing. I don't think it is prohibited, but I think if it gets to a point where, I think is that prohibited in, let's say, many campuses in like outside of Korea? You think?
I don't know. I think it depends on what extent. Like, there have been some pretty coercive, whatever. Like people tricking kind of people into coming into like kind of seminars and stuff like that. And like taking people to churches and stuff. I think this would be maybe prohibited. But I don't know.
Would that kind of activity be considered solicitation? Soliciting is definitely prohibited. So if someone trying to get somebody to get interested in a particular religion is considered a form of solicitation, then it would be prohibited, but I'm not sure.
Usually each university has like a different policy about that. Usually if you just get permission from the university, if they're aware that you're there, it's usually okay. And there's also a lot of campuses have like a free speech area, and you can do whatever you want in there. But I think they limit it a little.
What about one's right to be left alone? No?
You cannot go there. Like it's everybody knows that area will have, like, I went to North Carolina State University for a little bit, and they have like a brickyard, and there's always this guy that comes like every week, the crazy Bible guy. That's what everybody knows him as, and he just like yells at kids like how wrong they are, and everybody knows he's there. They kind of like just watch for fun. But I mean, if you, it's everybody's aware that it's there. Everybody knows that he has the right to be there. So you can just choose not to listen to him, or you can take another path. Like it's universities are pretty open about these sort of things.
I just want to say, like, my school has the same thing as yours. Because my school has one of the biggest LGBT communities in the United States. So there's always people, like a lot of I don't even know what to call them, because they're just kind of really forceful type people. They're kind of like the Westboro Baptist Church, if you know who they are. Do you know who the Westboro Baptist Church is?
No.
Oh, okay. They're kind of like this like intense Bible group in the United States, and they're like kind of notorious for being kind of extreme and intense toward anything not Westboro Baptist Church. So they tend to come to my school and do the same thing, but we have the same thing. And also my school has a policy that no one can do anything to them too, because some people have tried to pick fights with them or something like that, but there's like a policy you could actually get like some type of suspension from the school if you were to go up to them, so or to like try and battle what they're trying to do, I guess, on this free speech thing. So yeah, so
individual religiosity of Koreans who have a religious affiliation. So in the case of the belief in religious values such as God, heaven, miracles, devils, and angels, among the general public is much lower than that of Westerners, particularly Americans. So, I mean, this is rather easy, right? Do Koreans have a concept of miracles? Yes. What about devils and angels? Is that all in Islam too? Stupid question. You see, I think devils and angels are, at least from our commonsensical sort of perception, very Christian concepts, right? But in let's say Korean Confucianism, whatever, I don't think we have those concepts, right? So when people are asked to identify whether they believe in these values or not, of course, the proportion of Koreans who believe in these values much lower than what you find in the West. So as you can see, for Koreans, the percentage is in the 40s and 50s, while for Americans it's 70 to 80%. So here's a table that shows you what people believe in. Okay, so national average is there for Buddhists. So people who have no religion, only 35% believe in that. Buddhists, over 50%. I don't know how they get that, Is there anybody who is familiar with Buddhism? Because devils and, angels, they're actual entities, right? Like beings. It's not about whether a person is born evil or what is the philosophical debate? Whether a person is born, not that, but whether whether one is born innocent. It's not the right term, right? 선과 악 in Korean. Whether a person is born 선하게. Come on, look it up. What's sun here? Oh, good. Good and bad is even that is not perfectly right. Are people naturally born good, or are people naturally born bad? Yeah. Whether one, so it's like it is in a way nature versus nurture in the sense that people are born evil, but through socialization they become good. So the opposite argument is everyone is born good, but because society, there's so many things that are happening in the world that corrupts people. And that's also one of the basic philosophical debates that in the East, we've had, right? Anyway, if you find this in English, please send me your email. I mean, the question we could just ignore, right? For Protestant Catholics, the frequency of participation in religious activities, such as church attendance, prayers, and scripture reading, is one of the highest in the world. Why do you think this is true? Surveys have shown this to be true. Okay, that make the Korean Catholics, Korean Protestants, when it comes to participation in religious activities, really high. Why is that so? Is there any cultural, social reasons why this is true? Yeah.
Maybe because of collectivism in society.
Because of
collectivism.
Collectivism. Very good.
Yeah, church members are like, yeah, they have cats and go like family.
So I think things that are done in groups, like church attendance, and also churches do have many activities where people do gather together and do things together. And there are also activities that you do alone, right? Prayers. And scripture reading can be done in both ways, right? One, alone or collectively. I think for the case of prayers, Koreans do pray often. Why? Yes, shamanistic influence. Okay? So they pray often for material wishes, right? And scripture reading, that you don't have to answer. And I don't know the answer for. Okay, next, demographic characteristics. I think there could be some overlaps with what I covered earlier. You know the answer to this, right? Which gender is affiliated more with religious participation or organizations? Female, right? Which religion has the highest average age among believers? From what you have seen earlier? Buddhism. Which religions have high representation of middle class individuals as members? From what you have seen. Class always goes together with what variable? Education. So what did we learn about education and religion? So what's the answer for this? Yes, both Protestant and Catholics. So there you go. So you can see that the middle class level, 64 for Catholics, 63 for Protestants, but only 48% for Buddhists, right? Is education positively or negatively correlated with the frequency of religious participation? It's a very good question. So the more you're educated, the more you participate in these religious activities? Or is it the opposite? Raise your hand and use the microphone and don't sing.
I think it's negatively, or at least
Negatively.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Just because when you're studying more and everything, you kind of lose touch with it, almost. I just know that's how it becomes that's the trend in North America, at least, and so I know that's how it is. I guess
Okay.
secularization, that's what I would say.
Okay, she wants to Did you want to say something?
I would agree with Erin, I think, because I personally relate really well with this question. I find the more I am knowledgeable about something, the more I question about a religion. So, yeah.
So it's negatively correlated. Do you agree with everything Erin says all the time? Thank you. So if you're like tired and like almost half sleepy, the best medicine is to be funny. So try to be funny for the next 40 minutes. By nature, I'm not funny. That's why I'm Coachella. Yes.
I don't know. My first reaction. I mean, we were talking about the Korean context. I agree in North America that it generally goes the other way, but I feel like it goes the other way in Korea. Like, but it might be also because of the income thing that you're saying. I think it could be supported the other way, not necessarily education towards religion. I don't know. Anyway, I feel like in Korea it's the opposite. I think it's a positive. Really.
We'll see what the answer is.
No, I also agree with Erin as well because you start learning about other religions. Like, especially for me, when I went to college, I started learning about other religions. Even though maybe kind of saying I was a born-again Christian kind of like brought on certain like connotations for me, but like I tend to lean towards like my own version of Christianity or whatever. So I guess like learning about other religions kind of influenced my own religion as well. So like my view on it. So I guess I kind of agree with the negative correlation because a lot of people that I know that went in with a certain religion came out either with no religion or like atheistic beliefs or just changed their religion total 360. So
Okay. Let's see what the answer is. Positive. Then, why is this true? In Korea. Yeah.
I suppose there is a great number of Christian schools and Christian universities, and like it says religious participation, not so much as religious like belief, and the participation isn't exactly the same as the belief. Like for example, the Yonsei students, they can go to the chapel and they can like just like you said, church attendance, like scripture reading, but it doesn't mean that they believe exactly. So I guess like it's related to this that since a lot of universities and schools are Christian, then those who attend them will participate in religious activities. I suppose that's why.
I think that's
although the general trend, like the usual trend is like when people get higher, the more educated they are, they, as they said before, they start to question things, they tend to lean towards rational thinking and believe in science and technology and things like that. But in Korea, I guess an explanation could be the religious schools.
Oh, very good point.
And then also, relating back to her point about how religious participation doesn't really mean religious belief. If you look at like the purposes of going to church, politically, it's used politically, and I think that's why there is a positive correlation between the two factors. And also, if you look at when we look at the graph before, like the upper middle class and the middle class, those are usually the people with more education, and they go to church more because this is a very shallow interpretation, but maybe because they have the luxury or they have the time where they can afford to go to church and make all those contributions and attend all those meetings.
Actually, the one that you were most cautious about is the right answer. You see, to participate in religious activities of, let's say, the church. Do you need time or not? See, it's the people who have money, for example, full-time homemakers, who don't have to work outside the home, who have the luxury of free time to actually go to church and do things. And also, reading the Bible, for example. If you're working full-time or even overtime, from working overtime, you're too tired to come home and actually look at the Bible. But if you belong to a higher, the middle and upper middle class, because of better educational attainment, chances are that you have more time to read the Bible. The only thing that does not require free time is praying. Okay? That you can do even if you're busy with other work. I mean, even that, I think if you're, for example, working as a cashier at a very busy supermarket, you have no time to pray even, right? But if you're, for example, again, a full-time homemaker, and a typical, I think more people who have, let's say, college educational attainment, they are more likely to be full-time homemakers than those with high school education. And that's true based on survey data. Okay, so there you go. So those with university degree or higher, attend religious activity, service. See, it's much higher than those with only elementary education or lower. Pray once or more, even there it's the highest. And read religious texts at least 3 to 4 times a week, also the highest for those with university degree or higher. Okay? So this is Korea. What do you think? Do you think it's also true in the West? In North America, for example? Without knowing or looking at the actual data, it's not easy to, guess, right? But if we were to hazard a guess, it's probably the same trend. Yes or no? Chances are yes. Is class positively or negatively correlated with frequency of religious participation? The answer is? What did I say about education and class? Yes, they always go together. So positive correlation between class and frequency of religious participation. Okay? So, I mean, you could briefly take a look, and the same thing is true, right? So if you walk away from this class knowing something and that you find useful, is this. Whatever findings there are about educational attainment, same trends are most likely to be true for class, okay? Identification based on income. Okay, next section is religion and attitudes toward traditional values. Who are more conservative, Buddhists or Christians? From what we have learned, is there any way we could take a guess? In Korea, somehow Buddhists. Why? If we say Buddhists are more conservative, the reason is, there you go. There are many things we could say about old people, but one of the most distinguishing aspects is that they are conservative. They don't want changes. And one of the biggest changes they face is what? Death. That's why they don't. I'm just making a big joke. I mean, it is one of the biggest changes, but they want to live. They want the thing to continue the same, right? That's why they're conservative. Status quo. What is status quo? Same thing, right? There's nothing really changing. So the age is what matters here. Buddhists are more conservative. And why do we say this? Because, to questions like, you know, should males dominate in society, right? People who agree with that, are they conservative or progressive? People who say, oh, I think society should be dominated by men. If one says that, is that person a progressive person or conservative person? Conservative. And Buddhists agree with that. More Buddhists agree with that than Catholics, Christians. And what about the offspring's obedience to parents? Again, I think a lot of people with balanced views would say, you know, it's not a requirement. It depends on the issue, right? But I think conservative people would say, no, you know, they must follow or obey parents' wishes, right? And please don't ever obey your parents when it comes to what? Marriage. No, no, no. It's your thing, okay? I mean, you could benefit from their caretaking and all the love and everything, but you know, marriage is something you live with, not them, right? Will they live with your husband or a wife? No. So why should they determine to whom you get married to? Right? Never. Okay? And when it comes to making that kind of decision and you have a hard time, you can come and see me, okay? Like 10, 20, no, not maybe that too long, but 5, 10 years later, you could always find my phone number on the internet. Office phone, that is. Yes.
Like Christianity is a male-centered religion, and there it says like you should respect your parents and yeah, like things like that.
Respecting and obeying is some differences, right?
And like the wife should obey her husband, and she should follow him, and things like that. They're like Christian values, so it's very similar to those like male-centered concepts. Then
I think age factor and also educational factor.
Okay.
Because they're more Buddhists are. I mean, compared to Christians, their educational attainment level is lower. So I think people who are undereducated tend to be more conservative, right? So I think that those two factors are the most important ones. There you go. Religious affiliation and affirmation of Confucian values. Male dominance in the family. Wow, it's still, right? Still a significant proportion of Protestant Catholics believe in this, right? Male dominance. Husband and wife division of labor. I mean, you may think that husband and wife division of labor is a good thing, but here we're talking about husband and wife division of labor according to traditional, okay, sort of roles, like women doing the kitchen work, right, doing all the household work. The offspring submission to parents. Again, the strongest among Buddhists, right? Male dominance in the family, is that something that okay, I'm not talking about what's happening, but rather what's desirable. Here, that's what it is. They're saying that male dominance is better. Okay, it's the way it should be. Okay, but in reality, I think male dominance is still true in many families, right? No? In Korea, it's I think it's true. In more families than not. But you know, we learned that in the West, there's this egalitarian relationship between husband and wife. But you know, in reality, I don't know if that's really true. But in Korea, you know, definitely men who dominate. Who have more faith? I almost read it as who have more fun in traditional values. Who have more faith in traditional values such as fortune telling? Buddhists or Christians? Buddhists. Very good, guys. Reasons? I think same thing with age, education, right? So there you go. Divination of couples' fortune. I mean, I think this is one of the unique fortune-telling activities in Korea, right? Do you have that in the West too? You go to a fortune teller. It's about your own fate, right? But not like you take your girlfriend or boyfriend and say, "How do you think we're gonna make out to be?" Right? Do you do that?
I mean, we don't have like places that you would go to do that, like, but you could go online and like look at like the Chinese zodiac, like what year you were born, and compare. But people just do it for fun. There's not a lot of people who like take it seriously.
Oh, we take it seriously because even let's say a survey done like a year ago, asking people if you and your loved one went to a fortune teller and asked for the fortune of the couple's fortune, and if the fortune teller said it's not good, would you reconsider your relationship? And guess what percentage of Koreans typically answer yes to? Wow, that high? That's too high. It's roughly 30 to 40%. Okay? See, you may say that's not so high, but we're talking about couples' fate. And to actually reconsider your relationship because of this person's crazy, interesting ideas, it's just too much from. And as I always say, these, if you could call this superstition, if you believe in that, it's really a dangerous knowledge. Anyway, if I were to take a poll here, what is your answer? How would you respond to the first question? If you are dating somebody and you are seriously considering marriage, and you two go to a fortune teller, and if the fortune teller says you're not meant for each other, how many of you would really reconsider? And because you'll be embarrassed to actually admit to this, everyone close your eyes and raise your hand. I know nobody will listen to me, so just skip to the next one. Relevance of auspicious gravesite on faith. See, that high number of people, or proportion of people, believe in that, right? Isn't this amazing? Okay? See, many Koreans believe that where you have your ancestors' grave sites located and which directions they face, they have influences on your fate.
But it's not like relative to where you're located.
So maybe that's not really clear. We're talking about grave sites of your parents, grandparents, okay? It's people who have already deceased.
I mean, but
Deceased.
what I understand, like the way that they're established is important, like, and
Yeah.
what it's saying. But is it talking about like if you were to leave that area, like does that make a difference? That's what I'm asking. Like,
What do you? Who leaves?
say like you have ancestral, like obviously like graves like of ancestors. Does it matter where you are?
No.
Okay.
It's about where your ancestors' graves are located and which directions they face. And location is important. They have to be far away from water, and they have to face the south, so that they get a lot of sun, a lot of the sun. Okay. So many people who who feel that they are, they are struck with ill fortune, they actually relocate their ancestors' graves. Okay, relocate or just change the direction. Okay, and there are many specialists of grave sites who actually go around looking for the most auspicious grave sites. And whenever there is a presidential election, there are these guys who always go around, where the grave sites of these candidates are located, and they actually make predictions. Okay? And our past presidents like Kim Il-sung, Kim Dae-jung, they are known to have relocated their graves, the ancestors' grave sites. Okay? They do the same thing for names. I told you this before, right? Koreans who feel that they are unfortunate, they change their names too. Okay?
Is it working? Yeah. Is it related to shamanism or to feng shui, or what's it called, like pungsu? Pungsu? Is it?
Pungsujiri.
Yeah.
Feng shui.
Yeah. Is it shamanism or feng shui?
Originally, it's I think Taoism, right?
Taoism.
But it's the line between Taoism and shamanism in some respects, sort of very fine line. Okay. Okay, this is the last section, so you could should feel relieved that this is not going to go on for more than 10 minutes or so. Well, I think from all the questions I've raised, you already know the answer. Is it Buddhists or Christians who are more politically conservative in Korea? So in Korea, partial separation between the state and religion. There is a variety of ways in which religion relates to politics. Okay, so these are 4 ways that religion again relates to politics. 1 is theocracy. 2nd, totalitarian. 3rd, total separation. 4th, partial separation. And we're going to look at each one of these. At the end of the continuum is theocracy. So totalitarian, and here partial separation, total separation. How's my writing? Cool? Chicken scratch? Nice spelling? Oh, continuum. Thanks for pointing that out. As you know, theocracy literally means rule by God. Okay? So God himself is recognized as the head of the state, and religious leaders are seen as ruling all of society in God's name and ostensibly according to his wishes. So in theocracy, the state as a distinct entity does not exist, and there is a distinction between pure theocracy and modified theocracy. And let's look at what pure theocracy is like. In pure theocracy, the civil leader is believed to have a direct personal connection with God. What are some of the examples? Do we have pure theocracy in today's time? Vatican City is a good example, but is that pure theocracy? For example, does the Pope have this personal connection with God? I mean, he's, I think, the highest ranking Catholic leader, but he's not someone who is like Moses, for example, right? So I gave away the answer there. A prophet like Moses led the Israelites, and the prophet Muhammad ruled the early Muslims, right? So those are the pure forms of pure theocracy. Okay? So the leader is believed to have a direct connection with God. Okay? But the next is sort of a modified theocracy. It's a term that I'm sure it's not familiar to you. Doesn't sound right, the second half. Ecclesiocracy. Is that close enough? Yeah. Ecclesiocracy, on the other hand, is a situation where the religious leaders assume a leading role in the state, but do not claim that they are instruments of divine revelation. So I'm not gonna. I don't know why I didn't break these sentences. Okay, but this one is directly out of the Wikipedia. If you, yeah. And I've learned this term for the first time. Okay, just being an honest guy. All right. So I'm gonna put this, like, maybe modified some words there, here and there, and I'm gonna put it on the EKU. So closely related to pure theocracy is the modified theocracy, in which the state exists as a separate entity, but is subordinate to the religious institution and its leaders. The state is seen here as the enforcement agency of religion, as agency necessary because of the tendency of people to deviate from societal norms, but there's something wrong with this sentence, isn't there? I'll rework on it. Anyway, what are examples of theocracy? Not pure theocracy, but let's say modified theocracy. Most medieval European societies dominated by Roman Catholicism. Vatican cities, again, not pure theocracy, but modified theocracy. The last one, Islamic states, which have adopted Islam, specifically Sharia. How do you pronounce this? Sharia. Sharia. Close enough? Sharia. And that's moral code and religious law of Islam as its foundations for political institutions or laws exclusively. So in theocratic Islamic states, you don't have civic criminal laws alongside Sharia, okay? They just have Sharia. That is their basic foundations of the laws they have exclusively, okay? And the states that have those qualities include Yemen, Afghanistan, Somalia, Saudi Arabia. Well, I didn't know there was a nation state called Mauritania. Have you heard of this before? In Africa. Oman. Is that how you pronounce it in English? Oman. Oman. You know, in Korean we call it Oman. In Korean, what is Oman in Korean? 이런 오만한 놈. Pride? Pride and prejudice. What's oman? Arrogant, yeah, there you go. Very arrogant country. Oman. And Iran or Iran. Question. What's the relationship of Buddhism to the government of Goryeo dynasty? That of a modified theocracy. You guys know Goryeo dynasty? It's the dynasty before the Joseon dynasty. Joseon dynasty, the last dynasty of Korea, from 1392 to 1910. Goryeo dynasty was from 9th or 10th century till 1392. And there, Buddhism was the state religion of the dynasty. So is that a form of a modified theocracy, yes or no? Should I put this on the exam? Final exam?
It seems a little different than Christianity or Islam because Buddhism, the definition did say something about religious institution, and Buddhism I feel like isn't as institutionalized and it doesn't draw from a deity for legitimacy, so I feel like it's a little different.
Okay. Good. There you go. The answer is no. And the reason is there. Buddhism was the state religion of the dynasty whereby monks were accorded high status and had advised the royal court on social matters, but the dynasty's authority did not derive from the religion. Okay? And state, the rulers did not, when it came to political and societal matters, they did not turn to Buddhism for answers. Okay? So theocracy should be distinguished from other secular forms of government that have a state religion. Okay? So something totally different. At the other extreme is a totalitarian regime in which religion is either controlled or manipulated by the state or is outlawed altogether. And we'll just skip the last point. And midway between the extremes of theocracy and totalitarianism is the concept of total separation. Religion and politics operate in entirely distinct areas with no overlap. So do you know of any state where this is true? So we'll just look at the next one. Partial separation is the most familiar sort of relationship that we see between religion and politics, because look, some of the functions served by religious groups, something that the state should be responsible for. Okay, so here are some examples. Religious groups operate schools, hospitals, religious institutes. Operate commercial enterprises. Provide, especially the last one, right? Provide various social services, right? So because of the overlap between what the state does and what religious groups do, we often look at most societies as having this partial separation. Okay? So very few totalitarian, no total separation, very few theocracy, and the largest number of states having this, right? Partial separation.
So does Korea also go into the category of partial separation?
Goryeo dynasty?
Yes. Based on that scale. It also goes there, is that right?
I mean, if
it's not theocracy or totalitarianism.
That's right. Yeah,
So
it has to be that. Yeah, yes.
right.
Anyone else? Okay, so having looked at these examples, I think one thing we could say about the relationship between the state and religious organizations in Korea is that during the time of the succession of authoritarian regimes from 1948 to 1993, I think the religious groups have been very supportive of the government, right? So when it comes to the economic issues, labor suppression was not made an issue by the churches and the Buddhist groups. And when it came to family planning, which involved widespread abortions, churches, Buddhist groups never raised an issue. Okay? Something that is very hard to imagine, but that's what it was. Why? National goal of whatever national goal was more important. Okay? When it came to politics, anti-communism was very strong, right, among all the religious groups. Okay, and because support from religious organizations was crucial for the legitimacy of each regime, they provided a lot of these things, right? Granting tax privileges, allowing all these religious groups to pursue all kinds of commercial enterprise, exemption from tax, it's a repetition, and immunity from government scrutiny of financial transactions and status. It's an issue that hasn't really gained much media attention, and that is the issue of taxing clergy. Okay, in Korea right now, only the Catholic priests pay tax voluntarily. They don't have to pay tax, but they're doing it voluntarily. Very, very few, almost none of the Protestant pastors pay tax. Okay? And why is this a big issue? Because tax also involves medical tax that you pay into the medical care. So if you're tax free, you're getting all these medical care, but you're not paying anything into the Medicare system. So while it is true that many pastors do not earn enough money to actually make this an issue, but what about those pastors at big churches who make over $300,000 a year? Should they be immune from paying tax? This is really sick how they're getting away with not paying any tax, right? So even in a very Christian country like the USA, clergy, pastors and priests, they pay tax because they are earning income. Where there's an income, what? There should be tax, right? But because of these coward politicians, not wanting to stir any controversy or waters, they don't take this issue as something important. But there are a lot of non-Christians who are really, really upset about this, right? Because they're paying tax like everyone else, and there are these privileged group of people who don't pay any tax. So I hope this problem is redressed in due time. Sooner the better, I would say. Okay, so on that note, today's class is over. Thank you for listening. I'm sounding like a politician now. Have a good day.